The first thing Sergeant Mara Elson felt when the drop jet's bay doors irised open was not heat from the enormous star hanging below, but vertigo from the perspective-shattering scale of the battlefield. The Dyson ring encircled Epsilon Indy like a jeweled ribbon, its inner face a mosaicked quilt of photovoltaic planes, heat radiators, and habitation districts. From the drop jet's altitude, those components looked like neat hexagonal shingles. From the ground, each shingle was a plateau the size of Manhattan. At 200 meters, a career soldier stopped registering spectacle and started reading terrain. Mara ran an expert eye across what command had labeled Sector 8 Blue. A ragged line of cratered hull metal and crumpled support trusses testified to yesterday's orbital bombardment. Beyond the scorched strip, insectoid shapes moved. Venkar heavy armor, 12-legged assault platforms that scuttled like steel crabs, plasma turrets swiveling in restless arcs. They were positioned to advance on Capacitor Farm Theta, where a cluster of Hab-Mod cities huddled behind defensive emplacements. Visual confirms 3 armigers, 1 mauler, and a brood of stalk drones, said Lieutenant Rao over squad comms, voice crisp in Mara's implant. We'll be dropping right behind their line, knock out the walkers, hold until the armored division carousels in. Mara nodded to herself. Standard shock trooper doctrine. Get boots where boots weren't supposed to go, break something expensive, stay alive long enough for the conventional line to catch up. Only exception today was the toy command had issued grav inversion grenades. She slid a matte black sphere from her belt, palm reader confirming her biometrics before arming. A row of violet status diodes winked. Ready. Grav grenades still feel like cheating, Corporal Devlin muttered through an open channel. Pop 1, the universe flips, the bad guys take an unscheduled trip toward open space. Mara snorted. We'll see how funny it feels if one detonates in your pocket. A chime sounded. 10 seconds to release. The interior lights shifted to blood red. Everyone sealed helmets. One by one, heads tilted upward, offering silent prayers or curses to the void. The drop master's hand chopped down. Free fall. The shock trooper's suit translated descent into a controlled tumble, microthrusters firing in staccato bursts. Mara's HUD fed her a buffet of telemetry, velocity, impact vectors, threat markers. Below, the metallic planes swelled, details blooming, support gantries, access roads, avalanche lines of maintenance bots scurrying for shelter. She wasn't worried about being seen. The Venkar relied on tachyon dragnets for early warning, and those dragnets were blind to anything falling faster than 300 meters per second through the ring's thin exoatmosphere. Humans had designed their shock trooper approach paths precisely to exploit that gap. Altitude, 50 meters. Mara's grav boots pulsed, reversing thrust, and she hit the deck with a jolt that rattled teeth. Auto-stabilizers groaned, then compensated. Around her, 9 more silvery figures thumped onto the panel substrate, rifles sweeping. Scatter and ghost, she ordered. They moved at a crouch sprint, low to the ground. The Dyson ring wasn't flat. Giant honeycomb trusses created 10-meter-deep gutters between panel banks. Mara plunged into one of these trenches, knee-deep in the warm coolant that sluiced toward faraway radiators. She reached a ladder rung and hauled herself to the opposite slope. Every sense stretched. Overhead, shadows passed. She craned her neck. Drop jets, sleek-finned spearheads, were weaving through the superstructure, anti-grav veins shedding violet contrails. Their mission, Harry Venkar, AA batteries, and keep the skies confused. They dove under and over solar wings the length of continents, disappearing behind mirrored facets, only to corkscrew out in dazzling arcs. Groundside, though, was quiet. Too quiet, Mara thought. She tagged Devlin. Eyes on the crab walkers? Negative, he answered. Thermal haze from the coolant pipes is dense. Can't see past 60 meters. Keep crawling. If the friendlies can't see us, the enemy likely can't either. 2 minutes of low crawl later, she reached the forward lip of the trench. Beyond lay a flat apron of auxiliary panels leading to a broken section of truss work where an armiger waited. She watched it for a full 10 seconds. The walker reminded her of a mechanical, spiny lobster. 12 piston legs, a chassis bristling with self-healing armor plates, triple plasma throats glowing like hellish fireflies. It was accompanied by a cluster of loping stock drones, smaller but still dangerous. Mara passed target data to the squad. Blue team, left flank, gold, with me to starboard. On my mark, toss grav grenades. Devlin, time your jammer burst to cloak the launch. A flurry of acknowledgments flashed in her retina. She tapped the detonation ring on her grenade. 10-second fuse. Long enough to give them distance, short enough to cancel countermeasures. Mark. She lobbed the orb. It sailed, silent, over the coolant haze, bounced once against a panel strut, and rolled under the armature's belly. On the HUD, a pulsing icon counted down. Devlin's jammer spat white noise across the spectrum. 8 seconds. 7. A stalk drone sidled toward the grenade, optic stalk swiveling. 6. 5. The armature detected something. Mara saw anti-threat turrets swiveling, scanning. Too late. 0. A violet sphere blossomed around the grenade's locus, then inverted colors, sucking light inward. Space twisted. In the shell of warped gravity, down became up. The armature's 12 feet, engineered to press into the ring with metric tons of force, now clamped in the wrong direction. Armor groaned, joints snapped. All at once, the walker wrenched free from the deck, flipping like a beetle. What happened next was bizarrely graceful. The armature simply drifted, legs flailing, weightless, propelled by the minimal thrust of its own plasma bleed. It rose through thermal shimmer, past support scaffolds, reaching perhaps 30 meters before the grenade's influence dissipated and local gravity reasserted. Then the machine plummeted, but by then Mara's squad had skittered back. The walker smashed into panel glass, shattered cells blooming like ice crystals. Explosive cheer erupted on the channel. "That's how you flip a crab," Devlin cackled. But the fight was only starting. The other two armatures shrieked telemetry bursts and pivoted. Defense turrets began spraying coils of magnetized plasma. A roar overhead became a scream as a drop jet banked hard left, ventral cannon lancing ruby fire into a mauler rolling from reserve position. The Dyson ring deck lit in flickering carnage. Mara ignored spectacle, focusing on objectives. "Next crab, eyes on me." Blue team volleyed, grenades arcing, but the enemy had learned. A stalk drone intercepted mid-flight, stretching limbs to form a living net. The grenade detonated early, its inversion bubble knitting around the drone, flinging shards upward while leaving the armature untouched. "No joy," Blue reported. "Then we do this the messy way," Mara growled. She sprinted, magnetic boots clicking. Two stalk drones scuttled to intercept. She perforated one with AP flechettes that sparkled in the plasma glare, then went full jump pack, launching herself onto the walker's dorsal armor. The armature twisted, trying to pitch her off, but mag boots held. Mara jammed her last grenade into a cooling vent, slapped the adhesion charge, and backflipped, sailing clear. The grenade went off, half inverting the walker. Its rear legs tore free while its front remained grounded. Caught between gravitational vectors, the machine imploded, reducing to shrapnel. "Two down," she called. Heat washed over her, distant concussions punching bone. Lieutenant Rao updated overall status. Mauler neutralized by air support. Remaining armature retreating toward Junction Kilo. Command wants that junction intact. It's feeding power to Theta shield wall. Give chase. Mara toggled squad iconography. Runners converged. They dashed across panel seams, surging through shimmering waves of residual heat. At Junction Kilo, the Dyson ring's skeletal understructure descended into near darkness, illuminated only by maintenance strobes. Here, kilometers-long cables funneled harvested energy into quantum capacitors. To lose the junction would be to kneecap the ring's defense grid. The last armature hunkered inside a hangar-like cavity, plasma turrets embedding themselves behind columns of reinforced conduit. Worse, enemy infantry pods were hatching. Venkar myrmidons in amber carapace armor, each wielding scissor rifles. "Sarge, we're 8 versus a garrison," Devlin noted, not quite hiding his excitement. "Eight's lucky," Mara said, but she had no grenades left, only bullets, blades, and wits. She flagged the drop jet squadron. "Need close air." Target grid 77 Mike Kilo, pain inbound. An aiming laser lanced from her gauntlet, stitching crimson on the hangar's archway. She felt vibration as thrusters roared above. Two jets stooped low, their fuselages skimming truss tops. They released storm hammers, kinetic rods that fell subsonic then ignited, smashing columns into dust. The shock wave rippled out, fire and debris showering. Myrmidons spilled forth through smoke, unaffected by terror. The squad formed a semicircle, pumping flechettes and laser lances into amber shells, carving seams in chitin steel. Mara danced through closing range, blade deploying from wrist mount. One thrust under a mandible, twist, withdraw. Another Venkar raised a barbed claw. Devlin emptied half a magazine into the joint, blowing it apart. But the armiger was not idle. Its main turret opened like a blooming flower and speared a jet with charged particles. The dropship corkscrewed, engines shredding, and clipped a solar pylon. The resulting explosion cracked a 200-meter section of panel. Chunks of composite rained like hot hail. Mara cursed. "We can't let it set off the power bus." Rao's voice. "Delta Company 5 minutes out, but the junction might not last that long." The armiger was too deeply entrenched for their remaining munitions. Mara hopped behind a coolant pipe, breath ragged. Her suit registered micro-tears from near misses. Think. The Dyson ring itself was a weapon if misused. Energy cables around the hangar carried gigawatts. Disconnect them, release the stored juice, and the resulting flashover could incinerate anything inside. Risky. Could fry the whole junction, exactly what they were sworn to protect. But perhaps she could localize. "Mara to engineering net," she hailed. "Need rapid reroute on feed line CR12. Can you isolate nodes 80 through 84, drop the regulators, and set a timed reconnect?" A surprised human voice answered. Tech Officer Zhu, buried somewhere in a control bunker. "That would dump 17 gigajoules into an open arc, inside a combat zone." "Exactly. Give me a 30-second window." "Manual release only," Zhu warned. "No remote. Someone has to pull the breaker ring on the junction mezzanine." "I'm someone," Mara said. She transmitted her biometrics. "Patch me." Blueprint overlays flooded her helm. The breaker ring sat on a gantry above the armiger's position. She briefed her squad. "Cover fire. I'm going over." Devlin protested. "Sarge, your suit's running at 43% integrity." "Noted. See you after." She sprinted from cover as flechettes whizzed by. Myrmidons tracked her, but Gold Team laid suppressive fire, forcing heads down. Mara vaulted a fallen beam, rolled, and fired her jump pack, soaring into the mezzanine lattice. She landed hard, knee servos squealing. Sparks burst nearby as another plasma lance scored steel. The breaker ring was a wheel embedded in the conduit spine, bigger than a door. She clamped on, bracing. "Ready, Zhu!" "Cutting regulators in 3, 2, 1. Mara heaved. Corroded metal groaned, then spun. The cable thrummed under her gloves, heat bleeding through insulation. Somewhere below, the armiger sensed it, reactor warbling as energy readings spiked. It tried to disengage, but static discharge clamps kept it anchored to the bus. 17 gigajoules is not a number. It is a fact of nature. The power found a path through plasma conduits into the armiger's skeletal frame, out in a corona that flooded the hangar with day-sun brilliance. Even 30 meters up, the blast wave punched Mara's ribs. Her visor blanked to save her eyes. When vision returned, the armiger was a silhouette of slag, its turret reduced to glowing soup. The surviving myrmidons reeled, carapaces charred. "Breakers closed," Zhu confirmed. "Load balanced on auxiliary lines. Junction stable. For now." Mara slid down a cable, boots skidding. Blackened air smelled of ozone and cooked chitin. She finished 2 stun Venkar with precise double taps. Then, quiet. The only sounds were the distant thrum of the star and their own breathing. Devlin ambled over, suit dripping green alien blood, and gave a thumbs up. Not bad for someone who scoffed at cheating. She chuckled but sank to one knee as adrenaline dumped. Armor readouts flashed amber. Her left thigh plate was half liquid, seared by earlier plasma. Lieutenant Rao's avatar shimmered on HUD. Delta Company inbound. Medevac 2 minutes. You did it, Sergeant. Mara removed her helmet, letting the Dyson ring's thin breeze wash sweat from her brow. Above, the colossal curvature of the ring ascended until it eclipsed the star, like standing inside the rim of a cosmic wheel. Drop jets arced overhead, smaller now, performing victory loops, yet the war was far from over. Sector 9 still flickered red on her tactical screen. Enemy signatures regrouped near the horizon, where mile-high reflectors angled to chase photons. She breathed deep, tasting iron. Rao, my squad will hold until relief plugs the gaps. Get med teams to Theta. Civilians need power. Then prep fresh grenades. Because when those walkers come again, I intend to flip the whole damn platoon into hard vacuum. Devlin hooted approval. The others laughed, but their laughter carried weariness too. They were fighting atop a sun-scale marvel, fragile and mighty all at once. One misstep could send chunks of humanity's grandest construction spiraling into the star. Shuttle thrusters whispered as medevac dropped through a vent corridor, landing gear kissing deck. Mara waved off the stretcher team. Patch the others first. A medic gave her a long look but obeyed. She watched as her troopers, her family forged in vacuum, fire, and fear, filed aboard. The horizon flared. A distant reflector shattered, sending shards glittering like comet tails. The Venkar were not done. Mara donned her helmet again, sealing the world away. She cataloged remaining ammo, redistributed power to her leg servos, and accepted a fresh magazine from Devlin. This ring won't defend itself, she said. He bumped his helmet to hers. Good thing it has us. They turned toward the burning edge of Sector 9. Hours later, twilight rolled across the inner curve, though twilight on a Dyson ring was a programmed dimming, not a planetary rotation. Mara dug her boots into a service girder atop a solar fin half a kilometer tall. She and Rao surveyed devastation, glassed panel fields, geysers of venting coolant, the skeletons of walkers drifting slowly in zero-gravity pockets where grav grenades had detonated. Supply skiffs buzzed, towing struts back into alignment. Automated builders unfolded like origami cranes, stitching holes, relaying superconductive mesh. Humanity's nerve center could not afford downtime. Too many colony worlds drank from the ring's energy spigot. A comm ping arrived. Admiral Reyes, fleet-wide broadcast. Phase line Omega secured. Shock troopers achieved objective with minimal infrastructure loss. Strategic analysis indicates Venkar incursion stemmed. Well done. Mara felt a flicker of pride, quenched by exhaustion. She wanted sleep for a week in a place with actual gravity and a ceiling that wasn't plated starlight. A clatter yanked her back. She eyed Devlin, tinkering with a grav grenade, calibrating field strength. Be careful, she warned. Accidental inversion will make paperwork hell. He grinned. Just thinking. If we tweak the waveform, we could create directional inversion, tip the enemy without endangering friendlies. That's research and development territory. We're shock troopers. We make new doctrine on the fly. Mara opened her mouth to rebuke, but memory surfaced. The armature spinning helplessly in her first grenade's wake, legs clawing empty air. She pictured an entire enemy formation, upended, systems misreading orientation, weapons pointing the wrong way while friendly forces poured fire. Document your math, she said eventually. I'll forward to command. Devlin's grin widened. Already did. Across the ring, a sun-bright dawn flared as reflectors rotated. Light traveled along panel seams in a tide, cresting, chasing darkness. Stars overhead dimmed in deference to the forged morning. On cue, the ring's gravity system hummed, compensating for thermal expansion. The floor under Mara's boots felt solid again. She wondered how the builders, decades ago, had felt when they powered the ring for the first time. When day and night became code, when gravity was a choice, when a star became an obedient generator. They must have believed humanity invincible. Yet here she was, one of thousands, bloody and bruised, proving every hour that invincibility was a labor, not a gift. Rao touched her elbow. Get some rest, Sergeant. New ops drop at cycle reset. Mara nodded, but she lingered a moment longer, watching a shattered armature carcass drift past, snagged in a low-gravity eddy. Its hull reflected the newborn sunrise. "Drifting targets," she whispered. "That's what they become." Then she turned away, boots thudding along the girder, already composing the next plan in her head. For when the enemy returned, and she would once again redefine which way was down.